This account was told to me and my brother a long time ago by our great-aunt. I have no way to prove whether it is true or not, but she said it really happened to her. She lived alone for a while in an area where there were several small farms in a town in São Paulo, Brazil, and her house was the farthest from the others. Once, some neighbors came to her house to complain about stones being thrown at their houses, breaking tiles, making noise, and even the possibility of hurting someone. My great-aunt found it strange and said she had never had this kind of problem, but in reality, these neighbors thought she was the one throwing these stones, which she naturally denied. After a few weeks, more complaints arose, and some neighbors even almost started a fight at her gate, demanding that she stop throwing stones. But my great-aunt always said with astonishment that she didn't throw stones, that she didn't even have the strength to throw stones to hit the roofs of houses. One day, she was called to the gate in the late afternoon by a police car and some neighbors who were also there. A heated exchange of accusations about these stones began between the neighbors and my great-aunt. She was almost being taken to the police station when suddenly, out of nowhere, a stone hit the police officer's head, causing him to fall dazed and bleeding. The astonishment was general, everyone looked at each other in fear. Some of the police officers rushed to help their colleague, while others drew their guns. The injured police officer ordered an immediate sweep to find out who could have thrown the stone. My great-aunt, now also frightened because it was the first time she had witnessed such a thing, brought the police officer inside the house with the help of the neighbors to tend to his wound. After some time, already at night, the police officers returned from the search without finding anything. They decided to take their colleague to a hospital in the city to treat the injury. The neighbors, also very scared, offered profuse apologies and quickly went back to their homes. It was already night when she was alone in the farm. After much thought and not finding an explanation for what had happened, as she was a very religious person, she knelt in the yard and began to pray. It was a prayer she called, "Beloved Lord." I will transcribe here, in her own words, what happened next.
I was kneeling on the grass, and I began to recite the prayer of the beloved Lord. On the third repetition, I started to hear sounds coming from the forest just behind my house. They were strange sounds, a mixture of growls and screams. Although I was scared, I continued to pray. The sounds began to grow louder and clearer, and suddenly I saw something dreadful emerging from the woods. It looked like a combination of a man with a bear or a monkey. It was coming toward me, and I was paralyzed with fear. I couldn't let it take over, so I kept praying, but now out loud. The demon was looking at me with intense hatred, its eyes wide open and yellow, which filled me with great fear. However, I couldn't stop, and I prayed even louder. Then, it let out a scream that felt like it had pierced my ears and darted back into the forest.
My great-aunt said that there were never any more reports of stones after that incident. Nevertheless, shortly after, she moved closer to the city due to the fear she had experienced. As I mentioned, I have no way to prove whether it was a true story or not, but she used to tell this story with deep emotion, as if she had truly gone through it. If you enjoyed the account, please leave your comments, like the video, and subscribe to the channel. Let's not let the old stories our grandparents used to tell us in the past be forgotten.